The first time I met Peg, she smiled like a neighbor, but spoke like she owned the place. That was the moment I realized we hadn't just bought a condo. We'd moved into her kingdom, and kingdoms don't like new rulers. We signed the papers on a bright Monday morning, the kind of morning that makes you believe life might finally slow down. The condo was small but perfect, a sunlit corner unit overlooking a row of oaks that turned gold in the fall. After 25 years of raising kids, this was our empty nest chapter. Quiet mornings, evening walks, no more lawn mowing or noisy neighbors, or so I thought. That first night when we pulled into the lot, I noticed a silver sedan parked in our assigned spot, the one numbered 47, printed right there on our deed. No big deal, I told myself. Maybe a mix-up. We left a polite note under the wiper. Hi, we're the new owners of Unit 204. Just letting you know that spot number 47 is ours now. Thanks so much. By morning, the car was gone. Simple, civilized, done. But later that day, while bringing up a few boxes, we met them. Welcome to Mapleview Condominiums, a voice called out from behind me. I turned to see an older couple, maybe late 60s. The woman had that perfectly set hair that didn't dare move, even in wind. Her husband stood beside her, holding a tablet like it was an extension of his arm. I'm Peg, she said, smiling just enough to be polite. And this is Jim. We're on the board. She said it like she was announcing royalty. My husband smiled back, ever the peacemaker. Nice to meet you both. We just got settled yesterday. Oh yes, Jim said. We noticed. Big day, huh? Then, as if on cue, Peg tilted her head. We heard you had a little parking issue last night. I blinked. Oh yes. Just a misunderstanding, I think. Well, she continued. You see, that spot's been used by Mike for years now. He works at the hospital, comes home late. It's been an arrangement, Jim added. Handshake deal with the previous owners. Totally normal here. My husband frowned politely. We understand, but the spot is part of our deed. We plan to use it. And that's when Peg's expression changed, like a curtain being pulled down. Oh, but you don't actually own that spot, she said briskly. The board manages assignments. Jim looked awkwardly at his phone. Peg, actually they do. It's deeded property, see? He held up the document like a referee waving a yellow card. Her eyes flicked to me, sharp. Well, it's just that Mike's used it for years. He's essential, you know. Works 12-hour shifts. His spot's by the stairs, so you two can take the stairs instead of the elevator. Her gaze slid down, pointedly, to my husband's midsection. Before I could even find my voice, he squeezed my hand. Nice meeting you both, he said tightly, steering me away before I said something I'd regret. But inside, I was burning. It wasn't about a parking spot anymore. It was about power. About Peg. That night, I sat at my laptop and wrote a calm, professional email to the property manager and the KOA board. I explained the situation, attached a copy of the deed, and asked for clarification on the board's stance about private property. Within an hour, the phone rang. Hi, this is Candy, a warm voice said. I'm the board president. First of all, welcome. And second, I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Her tone was sympathetic, rehearsed, the kind of voice that's used to putting out small fires before they become infernos. She continued. Jim should have known better. He's on the board, Peg isn't. Please don't worry about it. Park in your assigned spot. I'll talk to them. I thanked her, genuinely relieved. Maybe this was just a one-time misunderstanding. But when I hung up, I couldn't shake the image of Peg's tight smile. The way she'd said we are on the board, not he. Something told me. Peg wasn't done with us. The next morning, as I was locking our door, I heard voices echoing down the hallway. No, I told her she can't just come in and change everything. It was Peg's voice, sharp, cutting. I froze. Then Jim's quieter tone. Peg, Candy already handled it. Let it go. I'm letting it go, she hissed. I'm just saying, they don't know how things work here. And if they think they can, the elevator dinged and they stopped talking when they saw me. Morning, I said brightly. Peg's smile returned. That same brittle, picture-perfect grin. Morning, dear. Settling in all right? Perfectly, I said. We parked in our spot last night. Worked great. The flicker in her eyes was small but satisfying. I walked past them, pretending not to notice the way her whisper followed me down the hall like a chill breeze. That was day 3 in our dream condo, and that was when the nonsense truly began. The next few days were deceptively calm. No cars in our spot. No angry knocks on the door. Just quiet. The kind that almost feels like an apology. I started believing maybe Candy's call had worked. Peg would move on. We could all live like civilized adults. Then came the note. It was taped to our door one morning, folded neatly, written in tight cursive on a floral notepad that smelled faintly of perfume. Friendly reminder. Parking spots are for residents only. Guests should use visitor parking on the north side. Thank you. Management. The word management was underlined twice. I stared at it for a long time before laughing. The kind of dry, disbelieving laugh that bubbles out when you realize you've entered a petty war. My husband sighed. Just ignore it. But I couldn't. It wasn't signed by the board, and I knew exactly whose handwriting it was. That afternoon, I spotted Peg through our window, standing near the parking lot, chatting with a woman from another unit. She gestured toward our spot, then toward our windows, whispering animatedly. Her voice carried in the still air. They're just entitled. You give people an inch. I closed the curtain. By the end of the week, little inconveniences started appearing, like invisible tripwires. Someone began leaving trash bags beside our door instead of taking them to the dumpster. Flyers from last month's event suddenly appeared in our mailbox with past due scrawled on them in red ink. It was childish, petty, but effective. I told Candy again. She sounded exasperated. I'll handle it. Peg's a little territorial, but she'll calm down. Except Peg didn't calm down. She got creative. One morning, my husband went down to the car and found a sticky note under the windshield wiper. Reserved for Mike. Please respect the community. He stood there for a full minute before peeling it off, shaking his head. She's bold. I'll give her that. I started avoiding the elevator because Peg somehow always seemed to be inside it when I needed it. Every time she'd find a way to needle us, politely. Oh, running late? You know, Mike's shifts run so long, poor man barely sleeps. Imagine how hard it must must be to find parking after a 12-hour night shift. Or, I hope you're enjoying your little unit. The Johnsons had such taste, didn't they? Shame they moved. Her words were like sugar-coated daggers, always delivered with a smile, always surrounded by neighbors who'd politely laugh along. It was clear she wasn't just testing us. She was performing for an audience. I decided to stop being quiet. That night, I drafted another email, not just to Candy this time, but to the entire board. I listed every incident, every note, every coincidence. I kept it professional, factual, measured. I even attached photos of the notes. Within a day, I got a call from Candy again. I spoke with Jim, she said carefully. He's embarrassed. He wants to apologize on Peg's behalf. On her behalf? I repeated. She's the one doing it, Candy sighed. Yes, but confronting her directly tends to make things worse. Jim's trying to keep the peace. Peace? I said. This woman's waging a campaign over a parking space. There was a pause on the line. Then Candy's voice softened. Welcome to condo life. After that, I stopped reporting her. I figured silence would starve her, but I underestimated just how far Peg was willing to go when ignored. One night, around midnight, a loud banging jolted me awake. My heart pounded as I sat up, disoriented. Someone's knocking, my husband muttered. I pulled on my robe and opened the door, only to find no one there. Just a soft echo fading down the hallway. But on the floor lay a piece of paper, crumpled, wet from something sticky. It was one of our earlier notes, the one we'd left under the windshield days ago. The words, "Please don't park here again," were barely legible beneath a smear of coffee. That was when I realized this wasn't about parking anymore. It was about control. The next morning, Peg acted as if nothing had happened. She smiled brightly in the lobby, offered me a cookie from a tray. "Community bake sale tomorrow," she chirped. I stared at her perfect hair, her pink lipstick, the false warmth in her eyes. She was enjoying this, so I smiled back. "See you there." And that's when I made up my mind. If Peg wanted a war, she'd get one. But I wasn't going to fight it the way she expected, with notes or whispers. No, I was going to hit her where it actually hurt, her reputation. That afternoon, I reached out to a few neighbors. I started casual conversations, friendly, innocent. I asked about the building, the board, the way things usually worked. And little by little, the truth came out. Peg had done this before. 3 years ago, she'd feuded with a couple who tried to install a satellite dish on their balcony. Before that, she'd reported someone's teenage daughter for running in the hallways. And Jim, he just followed along, keeping the peace while Peg ruled the place like a self-appointed queen. Everyone had a story. But everyone also had the same conclusion. It's easier to stay on her good side. That was her power. Fear wrapped in courtesy. By the end of the week, I had what I needed. At the next condo meeting, I planned to expose everything. Not through accusations or anger, but through calm, documented truth. Every note, every complaint, every instance of harassment. When the night came, I sat quietly in the back of the small meeting room, heart pounding, waiting for my turn. Peg sat at the front beside Jim, wearing a pastel cardigan and a string of pearls, smiling at everyone like the benevolent matriarch she imagined herself to be. And when Candy called on me to speak, I stood. "Hi," I began, voice steady. "I'm the new owner of Unit 204. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for welcoming us. Most of you have been wonderful, but I also want to discuss something that's been happening since we moved in." I could feel Peg's eyes drilling into me. I laid out the story, every incident, every message, every polite attempt to de-escalate. I didn't raise my voice once. I didn't accuse. I just told the truth. When I finished, the room was silent. Candy cleared her throat. "Thank you for bringing this to our attention." And then, for the first time since moving in, I saw it. The slightest crack in Peg's composure. Her smile faltered. Her eyes darted toward Jim, who stared down at his lap, face pale. The kingdom was trembling, but it wasn't over yet, because power, once challenged, rarely fades quietly. And I could tell, from the way Peg smoothed her hair, from the tightness of her jaw, that she was already plotting her next move. The meeting ended. People avoided eye contact as they filed out. A few gave me sympathetic nods. Jim lingered, walking past me slowly. "You shouldn't have done that," he murmured. "You don't know her." He didn't say it like a warning. He said it like a fact. I watched them leave together, Peg's hand gripping his arm, her whisper sharp and fast. That night, as I turned out the lights, I felt a flicker of unease crawl up my spine, because he was right. I didn't know her. Not yet, but I was about to. The silence that followed the meeting was almost eerie. Days passed without a single note, glare, or whispered remark from Peg. The halls felt empty. The air heavy. My husband thought it meant she'd finally backed down, but I knew better. People like Peg don't surrender. They recalibrate. It started subtly again. The maintenance crew forgot to pick up our trash. Packages disappeared from our doorstep. Not all, just enough to make it sting. And then came the complaints. Apparently, someone had reported us for playing loud music past quiet hours. We didn't even own a stereo. When Candy called to check in, I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. "I'm sorry," she said. "I'm doing what I can. But Peg's been here 20 years. People trust her. They listen to her." I almost laughed. "So she's untouchable?" Candy hesitated. "Let's just say she's part of the foundation here." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring out the window at our parking spot below, empty, waiting, and there it was again, like some recurring nightmare. That same silver sedan pulling into our space, headlights slicing through the dark. I rushed downstairs, my heart pounding, and stepped into the cold night air just as the driver's door opened. It wasn't Peg. It was a man, late 30s, scrubs still on, looking exhausted. "Mike?" I said, realizing who it must be. He froze, surprised. Yeah, sorry, is this?" "It's our spot," I said, not unkindly. "We bought the unit last month." He sighed heavily, rubbing his eyes. "Yeah, Peg mentioned something. Said you were letting me keep it till the deed's updated." I frowned. "She told you that?" "Yeah," he said. "Said you agreed." "Look, I'm sorry. I just came off a double shift. If it's a problem, I can move." I shook my head. said, feeling a pang of guilt. It's not your fault. You've been lied to. He blinked, confused. What do you mean? Peg's been telling people things that aren't true. She doesn't speak for us. He stared at me for a long moment, then let out a tired laugh. Figures. She's been running this place since before I moved in. I should have known better. We ended up talking for 10 minutes under the yellow parking lot light. Two strangers connected by one woman's need for control. Mike apologized again, promised to switch spots. I told him it was fine, that I just wanted honesty. When I returned upstairs, I found another note slipped under our door. No handwriting this time. Typed. Printed. You don't belong here. That was it. No signature. No explanation, but I didn't need one. The next morning, I caught Peg in the lobby, her voice sweet as syrup as she greeted a neighbor. She turned when she saw me, that same brittle smile back in place. Morning, she chirped. I held up the note. This yours? Her expression didn't change, but her eyes, those eyes, hardened. Excuse me? Don't play dumb, Peg. This is harassment. I'm done pretending it isn't. The lobby went quiet. A few residents slowed their steps, watching. She stepped closer, her perfume sharp and artificial. You think you can just come in here, change everything, and people won't notice? I think I can park in my own spot. Her lips twitched. You're not the first one to challenge me, dear, but you will be the last. Something about the way she said it sent a chill through me. Not a threat exactly, more like a promise. I stared at her, trying to understand. Why does it matter so much to you? Her jaw tightened. Because this community worked before you came. People respected rules. They respected me. And there it was. The truth, naked and trembling behind her words. This wasn't about parking. It was about a life that had shrunk too small. About someone whose only kingdom left was a condo building, and who'd rule it with an iron smile until the very end. I felt the anger drain out of me, replaced by something closer to pity. Peg, I said quietly. You don't have to make everyone afraid to matter. Her face flickered for just a second, like I'd struck something real. But then she turned sharply, her heels clicking down the hall. That evening, Candy knocked on our door. I think Peg's resigning from the board, she said softly. Jim submitted her notice on her behalf, said it's for health reasons. Health reasons? I thanked her, unsure what to feel. Relief? Triumph? None of it felt right. Over the next few weeks, the building felt lighter. Mike started waving when he saw us. The neighbors who'd avoided eye contact now smiled. The air lost that electric tension that had hung around since the day we moved in. Peg still lived downstairs, but we rarely saw her. Once in a while, I'd catch a glimpse, her curtains half drawn, a faint silhouette moving behind them. Then one morning, Jim knocked on our door. He looked older somehow, smaller. He handed me a tin of cookies. She wanted you to have these, he said. Peg? He nodded. She's in a care facility now. Early dementia, they think. It's been getting worse for a while. My throat tightened. I'm sorry, I said quietly. He nodded again, eyes glassy. She always meant well, you know. She just forgot how to be kind somewhere along the way. After he left, I stood there with the tin in my hands, unable to move. I opened it. Inside were shortbread cookies neatly stacked, and beneath them a folded piece of paper. Same floral stationery. Same neat handwriting. Welcome to the neighborhood. I hope you love it here. No bitterness. No threat. Just kindness. I don't know when she wrote it. Maybe before everything started. Maybe after. But for the first time, I saw Peg not as the villain of our story, but as someone who'd lost control of the only world she still understood. That night, I parked in our spot, turned off the engine, and sat there for a long time, watching the soft glow of the windows above. Sometimes I think about how thin the line is between protecting what's yours and destroying it, between belonging and believing you own the place.